If you've ever thought about starting a podcast, guesting on shows to grow your author platform, or just wondered how to get more mileage out of the content you're already creating, you're going to love this conversation today with my new friend, Jennifer. We connected through Podmatch, and as a busy Christian children's book author and host of the Front Parking Spot podcast, Jennifer's sharing how podcasting allows her to mentor busy moms while building her author platform. You're in for a treat today, so let's get to it. Welcome, Jennifer, to Book Marketing Mania. I'm so thrilled you're here to serve my listeners today.
I am so glad to be here, Kim. This is such a blessing. We've been trying to connect for a while. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, that's so great. And as y'all heard, we connected through Podmatch, which I love so much. And first, I want to talk to you, Jennifer, about hosting a podcast because you are a children's book author and you're also, a busy mom and grandma with limited time, like a lot of my listeners too. And I would just love to hear when you first started your podcast, you have chosen to do an interview podcast. So you're getting to meet and interview all kinds of cool people on your show. Can you talk to us a little bit about just how that got started? I know you've been doing it for 2 years now. And then, just how you got started with that and why. Like, was it to build your author platform knowing you were writing books, or did it come after you wrote your books? I would love to just kind of hear how that got going.
Oh, I love that question, Kim. And it's so funny. You may have the same story as I do, but I started with the blog. We're writing the blogs, and I have a lot. And still on my JenniferBosma.com, I have all my blogs, I have all my things, and I still keep one up, the Words for Wednesday. But I realized I wasn't reading a whole lot of blogs that my friends were sending in the newsletters because unless they were short, and I know young moms' time is so short, like you don't have any time. So I was realizing that the blogs weren't really cutting it. And I've always been interested in podcasting. And I always kind of had this quickening in my spirit. I'm like, that'd be really fun because I would love to mentor young moms because what they're doing is so different. I mean, you're doing the same things, but the times are different. When I had kids, I'm a grandma now, so I have 3 daughters and lots of granddaughters as well. We're the girl family. But, I felt like I could reach moms when they're driving in carpool, when they're folding the laundry, when they're unloading the dishwasher or putting makeup on. And I grew in my faith by doing the Bible recap and, Bible in 1 year. And it was a lot of listening. So I figured if I could, make the mom's time be multiplied and do 2 things at once, as moms are very good at doing, I thought podcast was a way to get the message out to help encourage them for Jesus.
Yeah, I love that so much. Like how you just even started with, your target listeners at that time, you knew like they were short on time. And so they're not reading, right? As much as you would like them to be reading your blogs and things, but they're on the go with their kids and how podcasting can intersect with that. Cause I'm the same way. I've learned so much just listening to podcasts, especially in the car. So did you start before you wrote your book or after?
I started afterwards. I
Okay.
wrote all my Christian children's books. I believe I started podcasting actually between book number 2 and 3.
Okay.
And when I was teaching, I always had an interest in podcasting, and I would check out the books from the library in elementary school, how to start a podcast. And so I had that interest. And so I would read it to my kids. We were talking. And then so it was kind of a natural thing when I stopped teaching and just went into full on book writing and talking with moms and getting in women's ministry. I had to be able to share that.
Yeah. Yeah. I have so many in my audience that are former educators too, or educating or today. They have not retired from it yet, but just even that, knowing that kind of translate into your podcasting journey because you are educating some way on your show, even if it's entertaining, you're still kind of educating and serving and, just like you said, mentoring. I think that's a great way to think about it too, because you are mentoring like that. Maybe somebody's not paying you, right? But they're listening to your show and you're getting to mentor their hearts. And gosh, what moms don't need that today for sure. Well, as you look back on your podcasting journey, are there any, oh, wish I'd have known that to share with our audience that might be thinking about starting a podcast?
I think one thing that you like to learn about that is when you start a podcast, I really feel that it's great because when you're ready to start a podcast, a rising tide raises all ships. And what I love about podcasting is meeting people like you and promoting their books. And, when I'm a guest, I can just share some things about my books, but promoting their books. And what else I love about being on a podcast too and interviewing people is it helps me grow spiritually because I'm learning from the people I'm interviewing. I mean, I feel like I'm going to church. Like every
Yeah.
time. It's encouraging, it's inspiring. Um, and what I really love is that component of it. And then they give such great book recommendations because I know you're talking a lot about books, but
Uh-huh.
I love asking other authors and other similar minded people, what book do you recommend these days? And I have gotten a whole slew in my library just from professional and personal recommendations of books I would never have heard about. So it's
Yeah.
helping me what I want people to know if they're interested in starting a podcast. You have to have a growth mentality, a growth mindset. You can't be stuck. Don't be scared of the technology. There's ways to learn it, like we did, right? And just do it and just launch out. And the other thing is, don't worry about being perfect.
Yeah.
And I think him, I don't know about you, but when I look back on my first couple of podcasts, I'm like, oh boy, what was he saying? And I like what we learned too about having shorter podcasts because moms have that time to invest. So those are some things I like to share with anyone thinking of doing a podcast. Because if you're thinking on it, pray on it. And if it doesn't go away, God is really leading you in that direction and lean into that.
Yeah, and he'll show you the way, and I do think things are getting so much simpler than even when we started our podcast. There's just a simple way to do it, and like you just said, like, just not getting wrapped up in the perfection, and I love that even if you're not on social media right now, like, the big thing people are preaching is just show up as yourself, right? Not try to be this polished, perfect thing. Just get on and share your heart, and that's how I think we ought to be doing on our podcast, right? Don't stress
Mhm.
about it too much. Your listeners just want you to be you, and oh, I love that so much. So let's talk about guesting because we officially connected for this interview through Podmatch, which I'm so thankful for them. And
Yeah.
I would just love to hear like how you got started with Podmatch because I know you've been on a lot of shows, and I don't know if that's through Podmatch or through your own networking. But just tell us how you got started in seeing guesting as an opportunity for you.
I love that question because we're about ready to save a lot of people a lot of money.
Hmm.
I was doing the podcast and I was getting all these people hitting me up and just saying, "Hey, will you interview my guy and my girl?" And they've got this book, and that was before Podmatch. So I'm getting all these things promoting their books and sharing. And like I said, hearing about them and promoting their books and learning about the books I should buy and all that was great. But then I started feeling I would love to guest and I would love to share my books and to do what I'm doing with them, to kind of show about my ministry in the Front Parking Spot podcast and my Front Parking Spot ministry and my books. So I'm like, how do I do that? So I was really, really praying about it. And I remember before I got my answer, I reached out to one of these book agents, that were trying to be promoters. And she had hit me up. So I reached out to her. I'm like, how can you promote me? I'm like, what can I do? I would love to share my story. I'm sharing others and I would love to share my story with them. So she wrote me up a proposal. It was $2,000 per month for a minimum of 3 months. It was going to be $6,000 for her to send emails. And I'm like, oh, I love what she was doing. And it was working for me because I was interviewing her people and, all the things.
Uh huh.
But I was like, $2,000 a month? Oh my
Hmm.
gosh, and I was very discouraged. I'm like,
Yeah.
"What can I do? I wanna share my story." And then I remember where I was. I was in Wimberley, Texas, and I'm selling my books in my happy place. Anyone in Wimberley, Texas, go to my happy place, cute little store. And I was bringing him a new supply, and I was in this little Airbnb, and I got an email from Alex from Podmatch,
Hmm.
and he introduced himself, through that, and then he listened to my podcast. And then I realized, whoa, I can sign up there to be a host. And then I signed up to be a guest.
Yeah.
And I am telling you, I tell everybody it is a great way for people to connect and it's affordable. And
Mhm.
then when you do the affiliate with them, you get paid for doing this. And so it gets to be an even wash, or maybe a little bit more every month, but you're getting paid to podcast and then I can promote my books. So it
Mhm.
was really an answer to prayer to find Podmatch. So if anyone's thinking of guesting, and I know I got my mother-in-law involved in guesting because she has an amazing story. My mother-in-law,
Oh, good.
she, died and went to heaven or kind of in between. And she
Uh-huh.
has a story that she's 84 now, and this happened in her 30s. But now
Wow.
she's guesting and she's getting to share this. So I would really encourage your listeners to find Podmatch because it's
Mhm.
been a game changer.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true, and I used to work with both agencies and on my own, Jennifer, pitching podcasts like
Yeah,
that and working
right.
with clients, and it can be a very expensive service, and especially if they're doing it really well, like, I will
Yeah.
say that because I think there's people out there, that don't do it really well and charge a ton of
Yeah.
money, but what
Was
I
that
realized is people are willing to pay it. I mean, I'm blown away. People are willing to pay it, but I really felt like if I'm the person pitching, then
Mhm,
I feel like you're really missing out on you, the guest and the host,
mhm,
really getting
mhm.
to build that relationship, even though you do when you're talking like this, me and you.
Right, right.
But there's a whole process that starts in the very beginning. And I just feel like you just miss out on so much of that fruit, of relationship building. And so, yeah, I do love that Podmatch offers that. And
Right.
I think the thing too, like, that not every podcaster is on Podmatch, unfortunately. I wish they were. So
Mhm.
it's like here's a network of podcasts you can go connect with, but then there's other networks too. But yeah, I was at a podcasting conference last month and Alex was there and I had joked around ahead of time like, "Hey, I got my commission check. I bought a bunch of cute new t-shirts for the conference." Because it was like,
Yeah.
wow, they're so generous, they don't have to pay us, to
Mhm.
recommend Podmatch because we just love it so much. But yeah, it's a great way if you want to think about making a little bit of money for your podcast, then why not join Podmatch? So I want to ask if somebody is considering either just guesting, period, or thinking about joining Podmatch, what would you say? Like, is there anything you wish you knew back then, or maybe some tips you would share with them?
One thing I really have learned a lot on is the power of adding a video component.
Mm.
And not necessarily a video,
Uh
because I
huh.
mean, I have my whole are you on Podbeam as your platform as
I'm
well?
on Buzzsprout. Yeah.
Oh, you're on Buzzsprout, okay.
Yeah.
But that's just like so for those of you listening, my mother-in-law always gets confused, like, "What is that?" That's your hosting platform of what you go to. So, this is one thing I wish I knew. When you put a short up and that's like those Opus clips. Have you heard of Opus
Yeah.
clips?
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know what it is, you can get a couple, like 40 seconds of a little clip and it takes your clip and AI will get the words on it and it prints it on. And then you can put those on a short on your YouTube page. Those are getting views. Those are getting more views than my actual podcast, like video ones. My audios are doing great and I have that all set up. But I think one thing I would kind of invest in is the video component. But if you're starting off, do the video, but also take those captions and upload those same ones as a short, and you'll get a lot more views.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So are you doing your weekly podcast? Is it
Mhm.
audio only, but then you're recording your video while you record your podcast and you're using those clips? Or do you actually upload your video of your interview onto YouTube?
Great question. What's neat is I do go to another great one is Frame.io. Have you heard
Hmm.
of Frame.io?
No. Uh-uh.
Oh, Frame, Frame, I period, O period.
Okay.
When we're on Zoom, the
Uh-huh.
video is also like we're recording our video is
Uh-huh.
there. You take that snippet and you upload it to Frame.io, it makes it into a video that you can upload to YouTube.
Oh, okay. Great to
Yes.
know. Yeah.
And then so I have to do that separately. I have
Uh-huh.
to do that outside of my Podbean. Then you take those what you when you produce your video on Frame.io, because then you can send it places and you can
Uh-huh.
up to, YouTube. Then you
Okay.
take the clips and put it to Opus Clips, and it makes it for free.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I'll be
And
sure and put a link to
Frame.io is
those.
also free. Those are
Okay.
2 great recommendations that I have
Okay.
people tell me about. So, highly
Yeah, I
recommend.
love that, just maximizing what you're already doing, right, and being able to put
Yeah.
it in multiple places, that's such a great idea. Oh gosh, well, Jennifer, I know we could talk to for hours about podcasting, both as a host and guest, and I really appreciate your time today, and I will be sure and put a link to your Front Parking Spot podcast and your books, and as well as the tools you just mentioned today, so thank you so much for your time, I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So fun to connect with Jennifer, and be sure to check out her Front Parking Spot podcast and also the Podmatch platform. As you can tell, we both love it so much. Now, if you're thinking, I'm publishing with a traditional publisher who does the podcast pitching for me, so I don't have to worry about it. Well, you don't want to miss our next episode. My friend, author, and podcaster Lori Melton is back to talk about how she's been pitching herself to shows, what it's like working with a traditional publisher's publicist, and how she's getting booked on 80% of the podcasts she pitches to. I can't wait for you to hear my conversation with Lori. Thanks for tuning into Book Marketing Mania. And as always, I'll be there for you next episode to help you reach and serve your readers one podcast at a time. See you then.